All right, we're here in Niceville, and we're going to talk with Tom Fitzpatrick, who for many, many, many years was the director at Niceville High School. And Tom, I saw your band many times, and it was truly awesome, truly outstanding.
We had a lot of good comments from you, too.
Yeah, well, you deserve them. Tell us a little bit about how you first got started in music. Where were you, and what were you doing? And
well, I was in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Really?
And, gosh, it was in the early 60s. And I got started on a tonette. Do you remember what
Oh,
those
yes.
were?
Absolutely.
Little plastic, little red
yeah.
thing. And I think that was in the 4th grade. And I just kind of fell in love with that thing. I just loved playing it. And then, in the 5th grade, University of Nebraska at Lincoln sent, they were doing a special program at my elementary school there in Lincoln, Nebraska. And they sent, I guess, people majoring in music or graduate assistants over to the elementary school. And they worked with us mainly on solos and ensembles. I don't remember doing a lot of group playing. And then we were in, I guess the Bellwin. Do you remember the Bellwin band builder?
Absolutely. I used that faithfully when I started.
Yeah, I think I still have one from 5th grade back there somewhere.
Cover, yeah.
But, yeah, we did that for a while. And then I ran across, when I went to the junior high in Lincoln, Nebraska, a really talented fellow named Robert Caldwell. And I've tried to call people up there and over the years to find out whatever happened to him, but he could sing, and he had a jazz band at the junior high. Of course, I wasn't in that at the time, but that really got me excited about band. And he was just a great teacher. In fact, I ended up doing a sax solo called Latinata with the band on a concert. But and then from there, when McNamara closed all the Air Force bases, we moved down to Fort Walton Beach. My dad got a job in civil service at Eglin Air Force Base. And I started in the 9th grade at the old Choctaw in Shalimar with Jim Leonard.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably my roots of band directing, really getting started in music. And then I did the whole Choctawhatchee thing, went over to the new school in Fort Walton. I think we had Chris Swell one year, and then Jimmy Jones first year.
Yeah, I remember Jimmy.
His first year was my senior year. And then I went to state solo and ensemble contest for the FBA, and Lacey was one of the judges. And he heard me play, and he said, send us a tape. So I went to University of South Alabama for, I think, 1 year, then ended up at FSU. But that's basically...
Well, I know you were one of the few FSU people they've ever let in over here. They have a gate, you know, they don't...
Yeah, it's called the University of Southern Mississippi.
That's right.
In Troy.
I've always been really proud of you for being our representative over here.
Well, but you know, FSU was just a lot of fun, and at that time we had Manley Whitcomb there, and Robert Branigal, and Dick Mayo, and I think it was Wes Collins taught me. Had a lot of band director classes there.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you're right. Everybody kind of was. I'm the new kid from FSU, you know. We'll watch him and see how he does.
But you had Jimmy Leonard roots, so that made you legitimate.
Well, yeah, you know, and boy, he was a hard one too.
Yeah.
I mean, in his rehearsals, you absolutely could hear a pin drop. Yeah, he was a great band director, and I think that's really what got me started, just watching him and his intensity. But when he got off the podium, he was totally different, kind of like Oliver Hobbs.
Right.
Yeah, but, you know, in rehearsal, I remember him one time calling a drummer down to the front. I told you not to talk. Bend over. The kid bent over and turned his baton around with that wooden ball and crack, crack, crack on his head. You know, we'd get fired doing that today.
That's for sure.
But I said then in there, I'm not talking in this rehearsal. But he was just a great band director.
So tell us where you started your teaching career and how the progression of that. Where did that?
Well, when I left FSU, I kind of had it in at the time because my father-in-law was the personnel director in Okaloosa County.
Oh, wow.
So I remember they needed a band director at Ruckle Junior High because they had 3 in the previous year.
Wow.
And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But I went to he said, you go down to Johnny Johnson's house in Fort Walton. You're going to interview with the principal. So I pulled up, young kid, 22 years old, and he's out there mowing the grass in shorts and no shirt on. Oh yeah, I'm expecting you. So he just went in and he sat on the couch with no shirt. You want some iced tea? No. Well, tell me about yourself. You know, I told him why I wanted to teach, and you're hired. So I spent 2 years at Ruckle Junior High, but that first year was quite a challenge because that previous year with the 3 band directors, the first band director got fired because the band could not play the national anthem at the football game.
Oh, my goodness.
The second one came in, and I'm not sure what happened to him. I think the kids ran him off because they were just wild. And the third one, the last day of school, turned his keys in to some coach and left, and they never saw him again. So I went, oh man, what am I getting into? So my first day in the band room, I walked in there, and there was music just scattered all over the floor. Everything was upside down. And back in the corner, there was a bass drum that had black shoe polish, "Eat Me" on it, on the bass drum head.
Oh.
And that summer, I kicked 15 kids out of band, and we had a pretty good little group. After that, we had a turnaround there, and I think we got a split 1 at a district contest that year. And then I went over to Niceville High School and started a jazz band in 1975, and stayed there for 28 years. You know, I taught with, I was assistant director with Roy Maynard for 3 years and Don Varner for 4 years.
Don Varner was there?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Don came, and actually he was going to go from Meggs to Max Bruner, and the superintendent got a lot of complaints. Why is he going to another junior high? So he ended up coming to Niceville High School. So, I taught with Don, and then retired at Niceville High School.
Now, who was there before Maynard? Wasn't there a guy,
Boswell. Fred Boswell.
Right.
Yeah, he was there for a few years, and then Maynard came in, and then I love Knoxville. You know, the support we get. Okaloosa County is just a great place to work because of the tremendous band booster support and the administrative support, the county office, and gosh, it seemed like every other year there for a while we were getting $10,000 to buy instruments, and so that really helped out. It's a very supportive community.
Yeah. So you spent most of your career here, all of your career actually, right here in Niceville.
Yeah, growing up.
Yeah, that's great.
Going to FSU and coming back.
I had no idea you were in Nebraska when you started.
Yeah, the Midwest, and I just once I heard that band's sound, I was hooked. I was just hooked. I just love that sound.
That's great. So, what major challenges did you face as a band director coming up? What were your major challenges?
Probably same as everybody else, fundraising, and dealing with band parents. At the time, we weren't taught any of that in college.
Right.
This is what you do, but just raising money for, the budget from the school was not that much. We could buy a little music with it. But just handling all the fundraisers and dealing with the parents, like calling the police on irate parents in my office. I've done that once or twice. But, there's really, I've had really no hardships that I can recall other than doing all the non-musical things.
Right. It's always that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did they build a new school or add on while you were there at Niceville High?
No.
Did you get a new band room?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I thought that's...
We went from junior high to middle school. And then we received the ninth graders. So instead of 10 through 12, we had 9 through 12. And when that happened, it just really boosted the band program. Gosh, I mean, we went from like 96, 112, right up to 150 almost immediately. Lowered the band sound in some ways, but then some of those ninth graders were good players.
Yeah.
But yeah, and at the time, we were in the old band room, which was just, you couldn't fit 150 people in there. And they were doing some construction in the county, and I told them, I said, look, we need a new band room. Oh, no, you don't. You'll get by. So Jake Gardner was in charge of the construction in the county. He came up with the principal. They came down. He looked around the band room. How many you going to have? We told him, and he said, you need a new band room. So I was surprised with all the input that I actually had.
I was going to ask you, yeah.
Into the new band room. They just said, tell us what you want. So I looked in the ASBDA curriculum guide, that old book, and just kind of copied everything out of there on what you should have in a band room. And we ended up with a really nice band room there at Niceville.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Tall ceiling.
Real tall ceiling. Well,
which was unusual.
That's another story, because they were going to suspend like a 13-foot ceiling in there. And I called the architect up and said, that's not going to work. Can't you just leave it exposed? Oh, there's just going to be beams up there, and it won't sound good. And I said, well, can't you do some type of soundproofing up there? And they got with some acoustical engineer at the Alcoa plant at the time, and they came in with this laser machine that rotated, and they hung all these elaborate system of baffles with carpet on them, crisscrossed all up in the ceiling, and gosh, it's like 25 feet tall up there. And then they came in, and half of the walls had soundproofing, half of the walls were not. Then we didn't have the straight walls, we had them kind of angled, so we wouldn't have standing waves in the band room.
Right.
And I was real pleased with that. And we had a door cut in, because we were right next to the stage, so we had a door cut in there too, so we could just go right into the auditorium.
During your career, did you have any pivotal moments when you sort of the light bulb came on and said, that's the way it needs to go?
Well, I can't really think of any one individual thing, but I remember just talking to the old timers that they just said, you really need to listen to your performance tapes and your judges' tapes, and instead of disagreeing or saying, well, they don't know what they're talking about, just listen and take advice. So I started bringing my tapes home, and my wife would think it was funny because I'd stay up all night long. And I'd listen to the performance tape and every judge's tape, I don't know, just over and over and over, and making notes. And and then going back with a plan of attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just that was a point in time that I think the light bulb came on in my head, and just working hard with that, and you know, having models like listening to the President's Marine Band, and you know, and I also think that when we started playing better quality literature, and I got Niceville out of playing grades 3s and 4s into the 5s, and we started having more success.
Right.
And actually, when I started judging and going around and listening to other groups, and that really helps too, expand your knowledge.
It sure does. Yeah. Did you do a lot of taping of your rehearsals?
Oh yeah, we had a nice sound system in there, but after I taped my band, I never liked the way it sounded.
That's the way I was too.
I mean, you're standing there listening to them, and wow, you know, it sounds pretty good. And you go listen to the tape and go, oh. And then I was trying to decide, well, what am I hearing? What am I not hearing? And you know, I think the worst place to teach a band is standing right in front of them. I mean, because you just can't hear what the judges are hearing in the back of the auditorium. And
that's right.
That's why I would really recommend to, you know, record your rehearsals. And Manley Whitcomb was really big about that. I remember in his classes, he stressed that a bunch. He said he did it at FSU.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go home, listen to the tape, come back, pass out sheets. Everybody marked their music. And
that's right.
Boom.
He did. Yeah. I remember when we did the Hindemith Symphony the first time with him. Mm-hmm. He gave us like 3-page handout for us to mark our music.
Yeah. Well, that saves a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I got to the point in my band at Niceville that my favorite sound was when I would make a comment to the band, do this here, and you'd hear those pencils click after they marked their music, click. Then I knew they were getting it. Mm-hmm. But
did you have people come in and work your band?
Oh yeah, all the time, and you know, one of my biggest people that I would actually, he wouldn't come in because he didn't like coming in, but I picked up that 200-pound telephone many times and called Ernest Hepson.
Oh yeah.
Help! What do I do? This isn't working. Well, you can blah 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 and do. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Click. But you know, that's something that a lot of young directors, I think, are kind of intimidated with. I don't think they want people to know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. And if I knew what I didn't know when I first started teaching, I sure would have been in a bad way because I feel like really that diploma was just a piece of paper to go out and learn how to be a band director.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And if you just sit there holed up in your own little situation, it's probably not going to get done.
That's right.
Because, but you know, I would have all my buddies that were teaching around at the local schools, middle school, junior high. They would all come in from time to time. Wayne Whitman was one of the big people that would come in and give me comments, suggest literature, and you know, because sometimes you're so into these certain things in your rehearsal that they say, well, what about this and this over there, and you hadn't even heard it or addressed it yet. So yeah, that's a big thing right there.
What other advice would you give to young guys just starting out?
Well, are you familiar with the Effective Performance of Band Music by Francis Macbeth?
Oh yeah.
Little green book, little pamphlet, not very thick, but I'm not sure how I ran across that. Probably going to all these clinics and which people should go to, and that's how I was first introduced to the balance triangle.
Right.
And he has a lot of exercises in there, and that one thing there, you talk about pivotal moments, that one thing right there was probably just the biggest eye-opener for me. You know, you'd always balanced your band, and you always knew you wanted more bass and treble like in a radio, but that just kind of laid it out there. And it's not just balancing a chord, it's also balancing a crescendo too. You know, they say in that book, and I finally learned and taught it to my kids, that when you crescendo, the lower instruments do a 4/4 crescendo, and as you move up down to the higher, louder instruments, a 1/4 crescendo. And to me, that was really big. And if any young director has not read that book, Effective Performance of Band Music, I would highly encourage that, because that I always prided myself. We may not have the best players, but I always tried to have the best band sound I could get.
And you did.
From the bottom to the top. That thick, rich, syrupy sound that I just really loved. Also getting a mentor. Like mine really was Ernest Hebson. And just being able to pick up that phone. Doc, I must have called him at least once a day there for a long time. You know, get a mentor. And I was, you know, and go to meetings and clinics religiously, FBA meetings, and go to every clinic you can, the summer FBA. You know, I went to that many times, but I really didn't know about the summer clinic until somebody invited me to ride down with them one time, and I thought it was just great. Yeah. And, you know, getting kids involved in solo and ensemble, you know, and staying after school and helping your kids. If I was young and went into a situation where the band really needed a lot of help, I think I would go immediately and address the individual tonal problems in the group, and I would just stay after school and teach private lessons until every kid had a characteristic sound.
Right.
And that's just invaluable, because you can use all the band-aids you want to, but if you don't address that characteristic tone quality and breath support, it's just, you can't tune a bad sound.
Right.
And so, you know, those are the things I would do, and just get it done.
That's right. So who else were some of your mentors as you progressed through your career?
Oh,
Who did you look up to as a model?
Well, I was married at FSU in my junior year. I got married because they said you couldn't intern in Tallahassee unless you were married. So they were deciding where to put me. And they said, well, we can send you to Godby High School, but the fellow over there is real cantankerous and hard to get along with. I went, uh-oh. I said, who's that? And they said, Jeff Bradford. So I remember driving out there to Godby, because that's where they assigned me, and I didn't know what to expect. I've never met Jeff, and went out there, and gosh, he was the nicest person I ever met. I felt like he was my grandfather or something. And at Godby, I really learned a lot from Jeff. And do you know, at the time, he was big buddies with Oliver Hobbs. And Oliver Hobbs would drop by the band room at least 2 times a week while I was interning there. And I would just sit there and not say anything and be a sponge. I mean, I would just try to soak up all this wisdom from that they were talking about. It was just, they never talked about anything but band. I mean, that was it, just band. And Oliver, I got to know Oliver pretty well, and he would send me Christmas cards and come up to me after festivals, judging and talk. And those two were mentors and people that I really, really looked up to. I remember one time we played, I think, Italian in Algiers, and Oliver judged us, and we got straight ones through district, and I went up to him afterwards and I said, Oliver, should we take that piece to state? And he said, well, Tom, there's a lot of other good music. Yeah, and that's Oliver. He'd never come out and say yes or no, but we changed that piece. And also, well, Ernest Hebson, as we talked about, and Jim Croft, I got to know him real well, and just following their work. And the late Charlie Sills and I decided we were going to use the coach's fancy machine instead of our diesel sprayers. So Charlie said, I'll go get the diesel fuel, and he was going to add white paint to it. And then I said, well, I have to go fill up this CO2 canister because it was empty. So I went down to Fort Walton, and I picked up, they filled it up, and on the way back out to the practice field, I decided, well, I'm going to stop at home and get a sandwich. So I did that, and when I came back out, it was really hot. The CO2 safety valve had popped in my car. Mm. Have you ever tried to breathe carbon dioxide?
No.
I hopped in my car and shut the door and put the key in there and went, oh, oh. I could not breathe. And I bailed out of my car into the front yard on the ground, and the neighbor ran across because I was coughing. And he said, what happened? I told him what happened. He thought it was hilarious. So I had to go back down to Fort Walton to fill up the CO2 cylinder, and they all got a big laugh out of it too. So I finally got back out to the practice field, and Charlie had mixed up white paint in the diesel fuel. But the coaches didn't tell us this one important aspect, that you don't use the CO2 cylinder for pressure and pump the thing. Oh. Yeah, we found out the hard way. So I got over there, I pumped it till it wouldn't pump anymore, and then reached over there and turned on the CO2 cylinder, and this thing started rattling and shaking. And it wouldn't spray either, so I stood over that thing, was hitting on it. I took one step back, and that whole canister went. It came loose from the bottom, and it just shot straight up. And it looked like it was in orbit around the practice field. And it finally curved and started coming back down. And Charlie's van was parked there, and Charlie yelled out, "Not my van!" And it came down and went boom. Oh, no. It dented in the whole top of his van. Oh, jeez. And you know, if I'd have stood over there about 2 seconds longer, that thing would have taken my head off. Mm-hmm. So I was standing there just dripping head to toe with white paint and diesel fuel. So I kept my car. Well, before I got in my car, I rolled the broken machine back to the coaches in their office. What happened to you? Well, I'll tell you later. So I went home and had to strip, and my wife hosed me off in the backyard before I came inside. But,
my word.
That was a funny time, and you know, I think making my first Superior at state was also a highlight. I remember that as being just really something that I was proud of. Mm-hmm. And being asked to join the fraternity Phi Beta Mu, that was a huge honor in my career. Mm-hmm. And just performing with a group. But I just want to share that funny story because that was interesting that day.
That is funny. Well, you shared some pictures of your dad. Now, your dad played saxophone in the band?
Yes, yeah.
Let's put those on camera here.
Yeah, this one right here. Is that okay? Yeah, this
right
is
there.
This is the Crimson Tide, but it was in Minden, Louisiana, Minden High School, and my dad played saxophone. Uh-huh. And this is him standing next to the director who played, I don't know the director's name, but he played in the John Philip Sousa band. Uh-huh. And he had two brothers in this group too. And here is another picture of the band outside, I guess in the stadium. And the little mascot on the bass drum is the famous astronaut Alan Bean.
Wow.
And you know, you'll see metal clarinets in this picture. And again, my dad is up here at the top on alto saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the only kid in my beginning class that had a nice vibrato, because when my dad played, he had the largest, and I just picked it up from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Wah, 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 little fifth grader with this vibrato. But it's been fun talking with you.
Well, it's been nice for you to do this. And again, I started out saying that your band was awesome, and I mean it.
Well, thank you.
I really enjoyed your band.
Thank you, Bentley, and I'm real honored to be asked to be part of this project, and I'm real humbled about it, and I just want to thank you guys for asking me to do this.
Well, you're quite welcome, and thank you.